Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Sunday the 23rd of June and I'm in the reading Nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a big pile of games I'm going to talk about, which I have basically been reading and reviewing over the past couple of weeks or so. So that starts off really with the Walking Dead role-playing starter set. This is essentially the introduction box set for the Walking Dead universe role-playing game from Free League Publishing. You get everything in here you need to play: dice, characters, and a scenario. Play through the scenario. It's a really good, decent little scenario, nicely tied into the television series. You can play it with the pre-generated characters provided, or some of the characters from the television show, if you want to, or even create your own with the core rulebook. And this actually kind of put my mind at ease, because my first reaction was, do we need another zombie role-playing game? What does this do that's different? And in some ways, this is actually probably more brutal than most zombie role-playing games. And it's also, basically it's strongly about the community and the people that you're with. I mean, they're what drives you to act. And plus, of course, you get dice and counters and stuff like that, which you can bring into play with the core rulebook. You don't have to go and buy a separate set of dice, and you get ready to play scenario. So, also one of the things I looked at this week these past 2 weeks, is Far West, the essentially Western Wuxia mashup adventure game, which we've kind of been waiting for to see in its printed version for the best part of 13 years. It's that late from Kickstarter. It is notorious for that very reason. And I have to say, the genre combination is great. The execution is probably not as well done as it could have been, and it needs quite a lot of effort upon the part of the players and the Gamemaster to really kind of run effectively, because it's a bit complex. Because essentially what it's got to try and do is both the Wild West genre, or the spaghetti Western genre, I should say more correctly, and the Wuxia genre, and trying to bring in all of the different Wuxia martial arts into play is a bit complex. You're not going to bring them all into play in sort of every scenario, but there's a lot that you need to know and learn. Definitely as the game master. But the artwork is fantastic. I am of very much two minds whether it's actually been worth the wait. It's been worth the wait because finally you've got it in your hands, but I wonder whether its time has passed in terms of genre. But for me, I think ultimately what is great about it is, if I can find it, is flipping the pages, is that image, which you may well recognise. That is me 13 years ago, adapted for this role-playing game. And that cat there is Fence, who's now definitely 13 years. There was a time when I wondered whether Far West, the delay between the Far West being successfully kickstarted and then being finally published will be longer than Fence's lifespan. But there we go, wasn't to be. She's still alive and grumpy as ever. And she probably couldn't do that over my shoulder pose now. She'd look at me like, what the hell are you doing? Let me see, we've got the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 system Gamemaster's Toolkit. It's okay. I would have liked more, a better screen than is in here. The booklet is fine. The screen is a bit disappointing. Let me see. Just because I can. I mean, it's 23rd of June now, so Friday was the 21st of June. Friday was Midsummer's Day. And I always do something ridiculous for it. I typically do something Christmas-themed to that end. So I actually did two things. I reviewed the Dungeons & Dragons yearbook for 2024. This is essentially the equivalent of the British-style annual, which is the sort of thing you get given as children in a Christmas stocking or something like that. But certainly when I was young, some 40 odd years ago, and this is surprisingly a decent introduction to Dungeons and Dragons if you're not if you're not already aware of it. It's got and it's also got some really good interviews with creators. I'll just find one. Like Daniel Kwan of the Asians Represent podcast and so on. So it's quite nicely community focused, as well as giving you good advice and sort of like just introducing elements of play. And the other thing I did that day was Unholy Knights in Lankhmar, which is the 10th, or it doesn't say it on here, module for Dungeon Core Classics Lankhmar, based in the city, created in Fritz Leiber, and this is sort of a semi-Christmas themed scenario. And I have my misgivings going in because I don't particularly like scenarios which kind of mash up Christmas with different genres. It kind of it just doesn't really work. Here it's a bit weird, but it's not too intrusive, and the adventure itself is kind of fun. It's a good investigation followed by basic classic sneak into a building and stop a ritual. The sort of adventure we've seen before for the Lankhmar setting. But yeah, I quite like that. You've got kind of a big villain who sort of like lingers over the whole of the city, and you've got this figure running around the rooftops, which is the Christmas angle, but that's not Father Christmas. Otherwise, yeah, run that like a heartbeat. It's essentially for a Lankhmar campaign. I really do like the Goodman Games version of Lankhmar. Really accessible, really great adventures. Acting up in Lankhmar essentially is a great scenario in which it's a castle kind of defense or tower defense scenario. At the same time, set in a theatre at the same time as you've got to do a performance because some of the actors are ill, which is great. Actually stretches your role-playing skills a bit. Let me see. Meridian, nicely subtle environmental horror for Delta Green, the role-playing game. Really like that one. Also works as a good introduction to Delta Green if you've not played before. If you want a couple of agents who essentially want to be recruited to Delta Green, it works as that way. A bit like the Supplement Control Group, which is an anthology of scenarios which can be used to introduce different diverse characters to play in the Delta Green universe and explain why they are investigating the unnatural. And then today I finished reviewing this Numenera Discovery, which is the second edition of the Numenera rules from Monte Games. Big science fantasy role-playing game set in the 9th age, a post-apocalyptic kind of setting where the sort of like the level of homegrown technology is sort of like medieval, and society is kind of medieval, but without all the constraints of the historical medievalism. But all around them there are the evidence of civilizations been and gone who reached great heights, into the depths of space, parallel universes, controlled matter, the forces of the universe, and so on. And you can go around exploring it and discovering these strange places, leftovers, and use the technology to your own ends to enhance your explorations. And with the other book, Destiny, which I've not reviewed yet, basically build up your community and forge a place in the ninth world. Great, fantastic looking book, lovely artwork, really innovative mechanics because it's player facing. One of the first role-playing games to be player facing. That is essentially the player makes all the rolls, but the game master doesn't. So when you roll to when your character attacks, you roll to attack. But when the character is attacked, you roll to avoid the attack. And things like GM intrusions, where you can the game master can tempt the player character with experience points for taking sort of like a consequences, and you get that player gets, if they accept it, is given a couple of experience points, one of which he can give to another player. That's not the primary way of gaining experience points, but it's a really good one because it really gives a player choice, lets them role play into a situation in and out again, and get the benefit for doing so. It's not penalised per se, but rewarded for having interesting things happen to his character. Yeah, so yeah, really like this. It's a campaign setting I'd love to explore in more detail and roleplay if I could. Let's see what else we've got. Oh yeah, this is, I looked at another box set from Free League Publishing, which is Zone Wars, Skirmish Mayhem in the Mutant Year Zero universe. There we go. And you get miniatures like that. They're not painted, but they are really nicely detailed. And it's a skirmish miniatures game for 2 players. You can expand it with a separately available expansion. 5 figures per player. You're scavenging the zone and fighting each other for possession of artifacts which you can bring into play later on. It uses the Year Zero engine, so it's really fast playing, fun, kind of knockabout mayhem, and every player character, every miniature has its own mutation which you can activate over the course of play. Really like that. Yeah, really nicely done. I wasn't expecting that from a wargamer. I'm not a wargamer by nature, but I do appreciate what it's like, and that's about my kind of level. I think, you know, bring it to the table, play it, put it away. Doesn't require a huge amount of time and effort upon my part, and that's complete. I mean, I have to say, yeah, this really is complete, because you get map, counters, even some terrain pieces to put together, and it is actually decent terrain. Some scenarios, the dice, cards and counters, everything. It's very complete. What else? Another scenario for Dungeon Crawl Classics. This one is People of the Pit. This is an older one. It's number 68. There are over 100 scenarios in the Dungeon Crawl Classics line. Began with Idylls of the Rat King for Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 3rd edition. Changed to 4th edition, wasn't quite successful, and then changed with number 67. Basically, Sailors on the Starless Sea, to its own inherent Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game, which is a role-playing game inspired by the Appendix N in the Dungeon Master's Guide for 1st edition Dungeons and Dragons. And that's not changed since. It's been a very robust system, very well supported with all these different scenarios and settings like that of Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankhmar. But this is a standard adventure for first level characters. It's the first scenario for Dungeon Crawl Classics, the role-playing game, for first level characters. And I hadn't reviewed it in the past. I'm sort of going back and picking these up to review, throw a bit of a spotlight on them after all this time. And this one, it's decent. It's a nice kind of dungeon which you don't kind of get with Dungeon Crawl Classics quite so anymore. It kind of harks back to, you know, classic dungeons, but it's strange enough in its own right. It's got basically a little bit of a Lovecraftian feel to it. That's really good. And then lastly, the Great Toy Heist, and this is for the Pathfinder 2nd edition role-playing game, and it's the release from Paizo Inc. for Free RPG Day, which took place yesterday, the 22nd of June, and I've got all of the books and title things released for Free RPG Day to review, to do unboxings of. I've done one, already reviewed it, it's already gone up. Nice little scenario in which you get to play a pink, fluffy, bunny barbarian. I mean, who wouldn't want... I mean, the problem is with running this scenario is that everybody will want to play the pink, fluffy, bunny barbarian, really. So what am I looking for? So that's what I've been looking at over the past couple of weeks. I don't know everything that I will be looking at in the next couple of weeks, but I'm gonna have a look at some of the ones I think I'm going to review. So it includes For the Queen from Darrington Press. This is the new version of the classic little storytelling game that is not just pocket friendly, but actually sort of like actually sits in the pocket as well. It's easy to transport, easy to bring out and start playing. It is really very simple. It's really all about responding to prompts and adding to the story through those prompts. And it comes with some absolutely terrific artwork. You know, because you basically, what you're doing is you're a courtiers or part of a retinue of a queen. You're protecting her on a mission, and the nature of the game kind of changes depending upon the type of queen you are protecting. So there's the artwork for one. You turn it over, there's another, and so on, like that, again and again, all the way through. As I say, the artwork is spectacular for the queens, and you've got numerous different queens to portray. You know, essentially, she's an NPC, and you'll all be responding to the things that are happening around you, answering questions, and getting to the point where suddenly the queen is attacked, and you have a final choice, essentially, of how you react. Do you protect her, and why, or do you not protect her, and so on, and explain yourself why you're not doing that. Looking forward to doing that. I think that's probably going into my basically will be coming to Gen Con with me, basically as a mini role-playing game, just to get out there on the table when we're bored. Probably takes a couple of hours, an hour or two to play, but really simple, and the rules themselves are actually presented on the cards. You literally read through the cards to get started playing, and that's it. That's really simple. What else? Road to Heaven campaign book. This is the Zombicide Chronicles role-playing game. This is the campaign for it. It's the one based upon the Zombicide board game, so it's got the modern iteration. There's a Plague Bearers medieval style version coming out soon, which I've got. It's also part of the. It's being previewed as part of Free RPG Day I saw, and this is a complete campaign for it. It's kind of like the previous content has been slowly building up to it, and it's much more of a kind of a knockabout, cartoonish take upon the zombie genre, pretty much as you would see in the Zombicide board game. So I'm looking forward to giving this a review, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, because I want to get it done before I go away. Also, Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, the nth iteration of Marvel role-playing games. This one looks great. I have nicely signed there by the author, and I'm looking forward to digging into this. You know, essentially, it's got a lot of different characters from the Marvel Universe. If you're a fan of the Marvel Universe, whether you've been watching it on screen, either the films or the television series, some of the television series really are lots of fun. She-Hulk and Arrow, no, Hawkeye, sorry, have been really, really good. You know, and you've got lots of different stats and so on. With Deadpool, Devil Dinosaur, you know, you just flip through it and going, oh my god. So if you've got Devil Dinosaur, then you're probably going to want see whether she's actually in here. Modoc. Yep, there we go. Moon Girl. So, I mean, much of that is actually just taken up by stats for different characters. So you can roll. So what you can do is you just pick this up, throw some of the characters from the Marvel Universe together and start playing with those characters, or you can create your own, go off and have your own adventures. And then lastly, Fate of the Norns, Ragnarok, a Viking role-playing game. I've had this sat around since the last time I went away to Gen Con, and it's due review. I want to make sure that it's done and out of the way. So looking forward to giving that a review. It looks to be fairly light in comparison to some other role-playing games that I've looked at. I mean, so basically, as I said, I looked at that, and that's 400 pages, and that's 400 pages like that. Now, you know, that's also all good, decent, solid role-playing material, advice, rules, etc. Very, very complete. But obviously, this is a bit lighter. As you can see there, so a bit more accessible in a way for benefits of me writing a review, and I'm looking forward to actually giving this a proper review. So yeah, so that's actually what I've been reading over the past few days. The one thing I don't have with me out here is I'm still reading through the copy of Dune by Frank Herbert for my book club, which takes place at the beginning of next month, and I'm actually really enjoying that. I've forgotten quite how well it clips along a good pace. I've been forcing myself to sit down and read 50 pages at a time and really enjoying it, making me want to play the roleplay game. But anyway, that is everything that I've been reading for the past couple of weeks, and will be reading in the next couple of weeks at least. So, if you've enjoyed this reading roundup, please do click on the like button down below, and of course appreciate your any comments or feedback you want to leave. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings, typically with me with a box containing a book or game or role-playing supplement, but in this case just a huge pile of books that I've been reading over the past few weeks, which I will talk about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with a proper unboxing in the Nook very soon. Bye for now.